Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, where we throw out the old blueprint so you can become who you were always meant to be. I'm your host, Jason Smith, and if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends on social media and tag me in it at JBirdFit. Today, I have a very special guest for you, Craig Ballantyne. Craig is known as the world's most disciplined man and is the author of The Dark Side of Discipline, as well as The Perfect Day Formula. He was also the creator of Turbulence Training Fitness System and owns earlytorise.com. Craig Ballantyne, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast.
Man, this is going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun, and even we should have been recording our conversation that we were just having as we're talking about some of the... Yeah, I think it's important because a lot of people are going through this exact moment right now where there was a shift in the algorithm. There were changes on both TikTok and Instagram, and maybe that was their primary source of getting leads and building their business and creating content and creating that relatability and the credibility. And so they were utilizing the platforms in order to keep and maintain that. And now as things begin to shift with AI and we have all these different things that are happening in the background, I'm really curious what you would tell somebody who is struggling right now, whose views are down by 2.6 million from where you were even just a few months ago. How can people begin to navigate that?
What?
Views.
Yeah, but per 2.6 million per month, per week,
month.
per day, per month. So in the 1980s, they came up with legislation that said you cannot send outbound faxes. This destroyed businesses overnight. Along came the internet. It destroyed businesses. When the internet was good in 2009, all of a sudden Facebook and Google started slapping businesses. They stopped allowing me to advertise in the fitness space in 2013 and 14. This stuff happens all the time. Like the algorithm change, I've never known. Anytime anybody says the algorithm has changed, it'll be like, okay, maybe your content's not interesting anymore. Maybe that's actually the problem. And so there is no value in blaming an algorithm. There's just no benefit to it. There's no benefit to getting upset that, oh, Facebook banned my account and doesn't allow people to advertise in the fitness space because all the acai berry marketers from 2013 ruined Facebook marketing. That's what happened. So now we got to go and figure out another way to run the business. And that's how it works for every business, every single day. Every entrepreneur is waking up with the same problems, just same problems. It's not the exact same problem, but they got the same problems. I know people that are farmers and ranchers, they got problems with all the legislation and fighting big farms and all that stuff. So we all have problems, and we can say that it was this. We don't even know if it was for sure. Instead, we just be like, all right, what else can I try? And if we do believe that something changed and the algorithm changed, find out what the algorithm is rewarding these days and go and make content that way, because you've done it once, you can do it again. I've had my fitness business I started in 2000. I was crushing it in 2006 through 2009. Then tons of competitors. I even taught hundreds of competitors to come and make their money online. I had to reinvent myself, and I got my business to its biggest point in 2013 by reinventing myself. And Madonna is the queen of reinventing herself. Imagine all the things that went through her head after Britney Spears came along. Oh my God, I'm old Madonna. Reinvent myself. 19-year-old Britney Spears is out there, however old she was. She reinvented herself and had more hits and more hits. That is just how life operates. And so we can't sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. If something else is working, we got to figure out that something else.
I think it's interesting because you find yourself in this place where you're looking for the places where you can make the improvements. It's okay, if this one thing is happening, then I need to take inventory. What was working, it clearly is no longer working. But then you start to see things like, I'll use myself as the example. I'm getting all of my old content from 22 and 23 is being pushed out on TikTok right now, but it's only the ones that have over 200,000 views. What can we take from that indicator that's happening right now with the content? It's hard to understand or to make sense of it. Is it an SEO thing? Maybe, but I really wasn't using SEO. I was doing what everybody else was doing, caption, hashtags, and then that was it. And it would get pushed out. So when we look at that and we say, oh, it's the content, it's not the content necessarily, because it's still being pushed out just from earlier days.
Yeah,
So,
what I would do is I would go and have conversations with as many people who are successful as possible and just say, hey, what are you doing? Well, I would study them, obviously. You can see most of the things that they're actually doing. There's not too many things that are magic and behind the scenes.
right.
And you start modeling, and then you just have to run more experiments. And the more experiments that you run, the greater chance you have with the greater volume of something starting to catch on. And it really comes down to, oh man, I do more work. You got to do more work, unfortunately. And that's the way that it operates for a lot of people in a lot of situations.
And I really like that you talked about reinvention.
Totally, man.
What are the first steps to reinvention? When you find yourself in that place where do you pivot? Do you stay where you're at? Do you try something new? What's that first step?
First step is figuring out what people want. And I think that's the big step that most people never get around to thinking about because they're all thinking internally. "All right, I got to make different content. I need to do a different style. Wait a minute. Let's go see what the consumer is rewarding. What are they obsessed with right now? What are they talking about? What are they viewing? What are they buying? You can find this information.
The AI apes. Everybody loves that right now.
What's that?
The AI apes. Just look it up on TikTok. It's funny.
I've never used TikTok.
But they're getting millions of
Get
millions
on
of
that one
views.
out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sure, there's goofy stuff that people are always going to,
Yeah.
is not going to be relevant to us. But when I was reinventing myself in the fitness space, we went through all of our customer feedback on our current programs. What did they like? What didn't they like? And so for a little bit of background is I started selling fitness programs to the men's health audience in 2000. It was dumbbell workouts you do at home. Okay. Eventually we heard enough from people, I don't have any dumbbells. And so we created bodyweight workouts. Eventually the bodyweight workouts were still too long. So we just kept on going down and listening to our customers saying, we want really short bodyweight workouts so we can do in our pajamas as soon as we wake up because we're so darn busy. Okay, great. And I don't understand how to do the exercise from the pictures that you're sending me. I need to see videos. And not only do I need to see videos, I need the videos to be a follow along workout. All of those evolutions resulted in reinvention, which allowed the business to have its greatest results. And so you go to your customers. And if you aren't getting much customer feedback, you go directly to them. We used to, with one of our other programs, we called 50 of our customers who bought a $97 course, and that helped us design the $297 course that we sold after it. And that led to a bunch of other things. And so you have to have the conversations with people to find out what they want, what they're not being served, what their problems are with the existing, what they're really into right now, because that would drive the reinvention and also talking to other experts. Back to Madonna. What did Madonna do? She's got all these songs in the 90s and stuff, but that music has changed. So she probably went to the producers that were hot at the time and she collaborated with, I remember she collaborated with Justin Timberlake. He's a hot young guy coming up. And so she's collaborating. So who do you need to collaborate with, or who do you need to hire to show you the future? Because things are changing faster than ever. And AI is here. Is not the future. It is here. It is eating people's lunch. And if you don't become a person who can use AI as a tool, as a craftsman, as somebody who is an expert, you are going to get left behind. Absolutely. Or build a team of people who can do that for you. You absolutely have to do it because the world is going to be so insanely different in the next year and a half. And then in 3.5 to 5 years, we're all going to have robots and ain't nobody going to be doing manual labor work. It's going to be a wild decade. If you are not on top of that and moving ahead and reinvent, man, I hope you got some money saved up.
It's interesting because a lot of people are being forced into that space of reinvention right now as AI begins to start to take the jobs from the people, especially people that are in that coding space.
That's capitalism is destroying itself. People in the 1800s who were driving mules and stuff got replaced by cars and so on and so forth. And that's just the way it is for sure.
No, which is why people need to go out and get the book, The Dark Side of Discipline. And Craig, I can't thank you enough for sending this to me, not just this one, but all of your books. I got them posted behind me so people can see all of them sitting there. But I want to thank you for doing that. It's very rare that people are willing to do that. And the fact that you actually looked at my content and looked at some of the things that I'm doing prior to meeting It says a lot about you as a person. And even from a business standpoint, like you are somebody that I would want to do business with because you took the time to do those things. So I want to say thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. I wrote the books to be read, so I want to get them in the
Yeah,
hands of as many people as possible.
no, I thank you. So this shifts really nicely into the first question. You say most people put a level 10 effort into level 1 problems. What's the fastest way to identify your real level 10 problem and stop being seduced by performative productivity?
Yeah, so the level 10 problem is, we all know what it is. Everybody's got a level 10 problem in their life, and that's the thing that you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about. It's the thing that you wake up, you get out of bed and like, I'm having a good day, and all of a sudden you look outside and it's gray, and you're like, oh man, a crappy day, and all of a sudden you start thinking about that problem. And in most cases, your level 10 problem in your life probably goes to a difficult discussion that you've been avoiding. So it could be a difficult discussion with your romantic partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is that you have. There may be some tension in your relationship. The relationship may have gotten cold. There's a difficult discussion that needs to happen, but you're just running away from it. Likewise, it could be with a business partner. It could be with a business connection. It could be with your son or your daughter you need to have a hard conversation with them. It could be a hard conversation with yourself about your finances, or with your accountant about finances, or a lawyer about something. And man, people run from difficult conversations. Even the people I coach that run 9-figure businesses make a lot of assumptions and avoid difficult discussions because it is scary. And so in most cases in life, your level 10 problem is that you need to go and have a very difficult discussion with somebody right now, and you're not doing it. Instead, you're doing a million other things that are quote unquote discipline, hard stuff. You're doing triathlons, you're doing cold plunges, working out twice a day, reading a book a week. And those are good things, but they're getting in the way of the great, and that's going to destroy you.
Ooh, that's good. Getting in the way of the great. What does
Yeah.
that mean? What does that mean?
So I've written 4 books. I love writing books. I know the feeling of writing a book and publishing it and getting it out, and that work of art that it is. And I talk to thousands of people every year who say, I want to write a book. It's one of my most popular trainings I do, when I say I'm going to do a training on how to write a book. And then I see these people. I see them all over the place, at events, online. And I say to them, how's the book coming? I haven't started yet. And this is 6 months later. And what are they doing? They're reading a book a week. Is reading a book a week a good thing? Yes. Is writing a book a great thing? Yes. And so the reading of the book, among scrolling and all the silly stuff that gets in the way of the great thing of writing the book, that's a problem. And that just shows you're undisciplined. So there are great things that you must do in your life and great things that you want to do in your life. The great things that you must do in your life are have that difficult conversation with your spouse if your marriage has gone cold, and fix. That's a great thing you must do. The great thing you want to do is to write that book that you've been wanting to write for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The great thing is to write that book, but don't let the good stuff get in the way of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I know a lot of people that are in that space right now that are wanting to write a book, or they're in the process of writing the book, but they're finding that there's a lot of roadblocks in that process, that it's really a journey of self-discovery, right? Because you start the process, you're going through it, you're trying to figure out what are the table of contents, what are the chapters going to be, what are the titles of the chapters, what's the structure going to be, who am I writing this book for? And in that process,
Let's stop right there. Anybody who's listening and wants to write a book and is struggling with their 10 chapters, stop listening to this podcast, put it on pause, and go and write down 10 chapters. This will literally take you 3 minutes. See, this is what I don't accept, is all of these things are such small steps that can be taken in such a small amount of time. And the list that you were giving me there, it would have become a mountain, but each one of these are molehills and can be wiped out within seconds. Title, come up with 5 titles, just write them down. Go to ChatGPT and say, I want to write a book for this audience. These are the 5 titles. Give me 5 better titles. Imagining you are Ryan Holiday. Imagining you are Jen Sincero, or whatever, however you say her name. Imagining you are Mark Manson. Imagining you are Mel Robbins. Here are my 5 titles. Here's my audience. Give me better titles. How long is that going to take somebody? And so each one of these could be done. So anybody could have their titles, their 10 chapters completely done But in the period that I took to yell that out.
So what do you think that roadblock is for people that's stopping them from taking that action?
I'm looking for a polite way to say that they're lazy. Hey, you are
Because they're literally
fearful of something.
self-sabotaging. Yeah.
It's not rational, right? So you and I, as we have this conversation, and somebody who's done this, I came up with my chapter titles, is looking at that person who has not created their chapter titles and saying, this is not rational. And it is not rational. Just not having a hard conversation with your spouse about your marriage that you've been married to for 15 years, that you stood up in front of 150 people and promised till death do us part, and you're not working on that, is not rational, right? So it's all an irrational fear that you are not doing these things. And what is fear? False expectations appearing real. So for whatever fear that it is that somebody has for not doing this, it's unfortunate, because you're going to spend the next 50 years of your life regretting that you never wrote your book, that you never started your book. And that pain of regret is going to be greater than the pain of you doing the thing right now. So whatever the pain that's stopping you from writing the book, man, get ready to amplify it. And so it's Jim Rohn? It's a Jim Rohn discipline. Regret weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Discipline weighs ounces, whatever. And then there's the Eric Thomas. No, it's not Eric Thomas. It's, oh man, the other guy. He's the graveyard. It's the richest place on earth because that is filled with the hopes and dreams of all those people who never took action. What is his name? I can't remember. It's somebody like Eric Thomas. And it's a really great quote, because it's true. If you do not write this book right now, one day you will die with this book inside of you, and gosh, golly, maybe that'll be the last thought you have as you pass on to the next world. And that would suck.
That would definitely suck. I wonder is that where Kelly got that? The false evidence appearing real? He puts that in his content a lot.
I see that everywhere.
No, I love that.
So the graveyard is the richest place on earth is Les Brown. That's the guy.
There we go.
Yeah, it's a really great quote, and it's one that I think about often. But honestly, someone could write the majority of a book using Chat GPT in about an hour. It is so unbelievable what it can do right now. Also, so here's how you're going to write your book. You're going to do that thing about the chapters and the titles with Chat GPT. I've already explained it. Then what you're going to do is, for each chapter, you're going to write 5 subsections. So let's say the book is about overcoming fear and getting out of your own way and accomplishing your dreams. And that's the subtitle of the book. I don't know what the main title of the book is. And so the first chapter is why we hesitate and procrastinate. So now you're going to come up with 5 little subsections for that. So subsection 1 would be your story about why you procrastinated on something. Section 2 would be the moment that you decided to take action and what allowed you to do it. Subsection number 3 would be some statistics about people who don't take, the number of people who don't take action, and you'd include that quote from Les Brown. And number 4 would be, here's the mindset change you need to make. And number 5 would be, wrap it all up, and here's the summary. So now you got 5 subsections in chapter 1, and you're going to write 3 questions underneath each one of those subsections. So the question, for the first one is, who are you? Where did you start from? That's your first question under your first section. And you come up with 3 questions for each one of those subsections. And then you don't even have to write it. What you're going to do is, after you've done that for all 10 chapters, you're basically going to have 15 questions per chapter, 150 questions. And either you can do this yourself, or you can get somebody else to interview you. They're going to ask you the questions. You're going to say them. Then you're going to take that audio file. You're going to transcribe it. Now there's AI tools that will take that transcription and rewrite it. And you can say, write it in Ryan Holiday's voice or Tim Ferriss's voice or whoever. I get people to write, like, I take content ideas to ChatGPT and I say, write it like Bedros Keuilian, write it like Alex Hormozi, write it like this. And you get all these different versions that you can then play with. And so now you're going to have this. And I actually went to ChatGPT the other day and I said, give me the top 10 ways that you can help me write a book better. And it told me all these things. I was like, I never thought about doing that with ChatGPT. Yeah. It can edit your book, everything. So now in the space of a single day, your book is done. There is absolutely no rational excuse for somebody not doing it. And here's the thing. If you're so darn fearful of a critic out there, don't publish it. Print one copy, put it in your desk drawer so that you can say, I finally wrote my book, or give it to your greatest cheerleader. And then maybe they'll encourage you to print a few more copies and so on and so forth. But gosh, just don't not write a book.
Yeah. Or somebody finds it after you're gone and you become
Sure.
famous after you're gone, right? There's always that. The other part of the AI conversation, which I love that you're talking about it, is also using Gemini or some of the other AIs that are out there to cross over with one another. So you take the same input, put it over here. What would you change? What would you do differently? And get really good at your prompting. Prompting is so important with all of that.
Yes, absolutely. The prompt engineers are the future. So if anybody's listening to this and they have a 20-year-old, like my sister's stepson is in first year or second year of business, I'm like, whatever they're teaching him is going to be so useless. Whatever job he thinks he's going to get is going to be gone. Like, it is such a waste of time. Take him out, get him in every AI program, get him to become a prompt engineer, because if he doesn't learn that stuff, he's going to be in your basement playing Minecraft for the next 40 years.
Quite possible.
It's so sad. And
Yeah.
and then I know this other girl that I'm related to, she's in film school. You can literally make videos
Yeah.
in minutes using AI that are as good as they make in Hollywood. If you're not studying AI, you don't need to be making regular film stuff. You need to be studying AI. It's insane. It's insane how not only this is changing, this has changed.
Yeah, the thing is, as a Gen Xer growing up on all the movies that were dystopian, right? We have the Terminator and all that stuff. It's just, there's a part of me I just want to go analog, go live on a farm somewhere and skip out on this whole thing, because we can see some of the problems that are coming down the pipe. And is it actually going to happen? Who knows? At the end of the day, we'll see what humans do with it. But
Yeah, some things are terrifying. You not do both. You
right.
can, like yesterday, we were out for 4 hours with no phones. We're like, you can do that. You can still go out in nature.
And you should.
Terminator dog might hunt you down. Like, those Boston Robotics dogs are the most terrifying thing.
They're terrifying and amazing at the same time. It's just,
Unfortunately, yes.
yeah. Now, you've said that discipline can set you free, but it can also become your prison.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a moment?
Sure. These days, a lot of people are doing challenges that take many hours a day. And I had to work out every single day. I worked out 1,000 days in a row. I skipped social functions. I skipped doing normal person things for this stupid streak that was not rational. You want to talk about looking at outside eyes at somebody's stupidness and saying that's not rational. That's how everybody looks at me when I explain this, because you don't get a gold medal for working out 1,000 days in a row. It's overuse injuries. You don't need to work out hard every single day. And discipline was my savior when I was a binge drinker, when I had anxiety, when I used excuses. I said I was an introvert, and it allowed me to skip out on social functions. And discipline, improving my habits and systems in my life, that was my savior and brought me up to a level. But then I took it too far. And a lot of people are taking discipline too far these days. Like, I laugh at the marathon people. Like, it used to be like, you did a marathon, you were something. Now you say, oh, I did a marathon. And they're like, yeah, but do you ultra marathon?
Yeah.
And then the ultra marathon people like, yeah, man, I did an ultra marathon. And then the Badwater ultra marathon, an ultra marathon in the desert, they just like, oh, you just ultra marathon? Like, what a loser you are. And it's just become this peeing contest of how insane of a physical challenge can you put yourself through, but at what cost? Because I've seen people lose their marriages because of it. They were running successful businesses. They were very busy parents. And then they decided to throw in a 2 to 3 hour a day challenge program into their lives. Well, where's the time coming from? Their business didn't slow down. Their business was growing. They spent more time in the business. They spent 2 to 3 hours a day on the challenge and 0 time with their family. And then my friend who inspired me to write the book, his wife walked out on him with the kids. Great. Now you get to see your kids every 2 weeks. Was the challenge worth it? No, it was not. Now you are in a more painful prison than you could ever be in, because you weren't because you didn't have the discipline or whatever. So you have to be very careful. You have to run every decision through a filter. Is this moving me towards my goals, or is it taking me away from my goals? Is this activity serving me, or am I a servant to it? Because if you are a servant to the activity, then it is no longer of value to you, and you need to reevaluate your relationship with it.
Yeah, another perspective shift that I heard recently was somebody was talking about you're about to yell at your kid or there's something that's challenging going on in the moment. How would your 85-year-old self feel about this particular moment as you're looking back? How would they want you to handle it? What would you have done differently? And then do that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's
That's the
just,
level 10 problem thing. If your marriage is going cold, what would your 85-year-old self say to you about your marriage? Like, just let go? I don't think so.
yeah. Now, you also say that systems will beat willpower every time.
Oh, yeah, totally. Imagine I'm going into a bar with somebody who's a social drinker. I don't drink alcohol. So we go in, all of our friends are there, and this person has a very important meeting or a flight the next morning that I'm there with, and they have to get up early and they don't want to drink. But someone comes over to them and says, "Hey, have a drink." And they're like, "Oh man, I don't like this peer pressure. I don't want to have a drink. I got that early flight or meeting tomorrow. But I do want to drink, take the edge off, but I really know that I shouldn't." And I'm just sitting there going, "No, I don't drink alcohol. Thank you."
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Let's party. Because I don't have to do all those mental gymnastics in my head about whether or not I should have a drink. I need to use my discipline and willpower. I've got that meeting, but I really want to have a drink and my friends are peer pressuring me. I don't have to think about any of that because my standards and my systems are that I just don't drink alcohol. It's no mental energy lost to it. And so by having systems and standards in place, you release the need for that energy consuming discipline or willpower and that's what most people picture as discipline and willpower, that it's going to be this grinding, grit your teeth way of going through life. But that's not what it is. Instead, if you want to be disciplined, you set up systems that make it easy for you to make the right decision and hard for you to make the wrong decision. Very popular message that in James Clear's Atomic Habits: make the path to success hard, make the activity that you want to do easier, grease the groove, habit stack it, whatever, all these cliches and little tricks and hacks and stuff. And you need to do those things. But most importantly is those things are helpful, but it's not until you change your identity and raise your standards in yourself that you don't need the energy anymore, because it takes energy to set up all the hacks and systems and stuff. But if you just simply say, "I'm not the type of person who drinks alcohol. I'm not the type of person who consumes pornography. I'm not the type of person who wakes up late. I'm not the type of person who shows up late. I'm not the type of person who overeat. I'm just not that type of person." And when you have that belief and identity shift, then you can really drop bad habits remarkably fast.
So what's interesting about that, I'm 3 years sober myself. What people will say is that you haven't completely beat it if you have to completely annihilate it from your diet or from your world or from your experience. What do you tell that person?
Where did they make that up?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? People
That
say
sounds like
anything.
such utter bull.
Yeah.
Do they not know about Alcoholics Anonymous? Like everybody at Alcoholics Anonymous, you are not successful at Alcoholics Anonymous if you drink.
Yeah.
Like that just sounds like a total peer pressure move. Like,
Doesn't it?
I haven't beat alcohol if I don't drink alcohol. That's just stupid.
Yeah. It's one of those podcast statements that I hear every now and again, and I always question.
Okay. So yeah, so it's total rage bait. And those people know what they're doing. They know that they're full of crap. And they're the type of people who should really get slapped by the algorithm because they add very little value to society. And I know how easy it is for somebody to do that rage bait stuff. And here's the thing is you have to be very careful. A lot of the rage bait stuff that is now exists is all AI. Have you seen the one about the girl with the tattoos?
No.
So there's this video that's all AI driven, and it's a girl covered in tattoos, and she's really lonely and sad and saying, "I was told that if I got all these tattoos, I would get all these hot guys," which is totally stupid. Like you could see right through it, but it has millions of views. And this is the type of stuff that you're going to see over and over again because people can make those videos so fast.
Quick. Yeah.
And you have to keep your mind right about this stuff and curate your social media so this junk doesn't end up on there. The only reason I saw it was because a guy was making a guy who I trust his expertise. He shared a video of a guy's exposing the video. That's the only reason I saw the tattoo video. But this stuff is going to be all over the place, and not just like in innocuous stuff like that, but also in very serious political type of stuff. But back to the whole alcohol statement. it just bothers me that I shouldn't bother me because I can't do anything about it, but it's ridiculous that people would say that and try and start that and not celebrate that somebody is happy with the change that they've made.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we want people to be happy, healthy, wealthy. And so when you see
Sure.
somebody trying to detract from that or to diminish somebody else for going a different route than what they did, yeah, it makes you a little angry. You don't want to see that.
Yeah, it is the polarization. So there's certain things that social media has really done a number on us on, and the polarization is extreme. And the thing is, if you put your phone down, you go outside and you walk around the streets of your city,
Yeah.
in most cases, you'll just see all these people happily going about their day to day. And you must do that regularly to be reminded that what on Instagram, and I say Instagram because I don't use TikTok, on Instagram, or I don't use really Facebook either. I don't really use LinkedIn, and I watch a little bit of YouTube, but the stuff that I watch, I curate and make
Yeah.
sure that I'm not, as much as possible, allowing those ridiculous voices inside my head. But even they get by my filters, and I have to check myself and go, okay, enough, put this down, go outside. Notice people aren't throwing rocks at each other out on the streets because people don't behave in public the way that they behave on the internet, unless it's like 12 o'clock at night on a Saturday night. People
Right.
behave pretty ridiculous, but 99% of the time, people don't.
The other part of that's really important when we talk about the AI with the tattoos, when you go into the comment section of something like that, a lot of people can't tell the difference between what's AI and what's not,
Sure.
but also what's AI comments and what's not. And so
I never even thought about that.
you can't allow yourself to get pulled. If it's an AI video, there's going to be generated comments, right? That's just
Yeah.
the way social media is, especially when you look at people that pay for performance and pay for downloads for their podcasts and all this other stuff. So, if there's a place where they can be nefarious and cheat the system just a little bit, people are going to do it. So pay attention, have that healthy skepticism, allow
Yeah.
yourself to take those breaks, get outside, touch grass. Totally okay thing to do, and you should do it.
Yeah.
So you've helped people quit alcohol, porn, and sugar and stay consistent for life. What separates the ones who succeed from the ones who relapse or stay stuck?
I would say that it's probably planning and preparation. And so anybody listening to this who's achieved a transformation in your life, whether it was weight loss, whether it was writing the book, whether it was getting sober, in most cases, all the attempts that you had before that failed were because you didn't do the better planning and preparation. And weight loss is a real simple one to break down, right? A lot of people wake up January 1st, I'm going to try and lose weight this year. They haven't cleaned up their pantry. They haven't brought in good foods. They don't know what meals to make. They have no idea what to eat when they're in a 7-Eleven and they're starving and they got to take their kids to a sporting game and they haven't eaten in 6 hours. And so they grab junk and they're just not educated. Fast forward 6 months and 6 failed attempts. Now they've read the books. They know about meal prep. They know about grocery shopping on Sunday and making the meals for a few days. They know what to eat when they go in a 7-Eleven and can find 30 grams of protein and whatever else. And they know what not to drink. They know what not to eat. And now they're educated. And now they do the meal prep. And all of a sudden, oh, I finally lost weight because you did the better planning and preparation than ever before. And so whether it's a wedding speech or whether it is a party or whether it is losing weight, your performance is always better when you've done the highest level of planning and preparation. And so that's the missing link for a lot of people to get the results, start getting the results. And then the missing link on the flip side for keeping the results, staying consistent and following through is accountability, preferably accountability to somebody you deeply do not want to disappoint. That will make you move mountains in your life because if you tell somebody who you look up to with the greatest respect and you tell them that your goal and you tell them your actions that you're going to take and you have to check in with them on a regular basis, are you going to not do it? You're going to follow through. And most people, even if they have that planning and preparation in place, they don't tell anybody what they're doing. And you're the easiest person to let down. Once you start telling other people, it's hard to let other people down, especially if you're a person of integrity. And so, because you are a person of integrity, having that accountability that to somebody, again, you deeply do not want to disappoint, man, that's a game changer.
Man, You're speaking to me right now. I'm one of those people that I eat my feelings. I get to this place where you hit that moment of struggle, there's some difficulty, and you go right back to this default way of being. And it's something that I've done my entire life without even thinking about it. It's just food has always been related to some sort of comfort. And to catch myself in the moment is probably one of the most difficult things to do. It's become a lot easier, but then to you got to you're negotiating with yourself. You can have it or you can or you shouldn't. How can I get better at navigating that situation for myself?
Listen, I used to love and binge eat chocolate covered almonds. And so what I identified was most of the times I did this, it was because I had one or two drinks at dinner. And the next thing you know, I'm at 7-Eleven buying a bag of chocolate covered almonds. So there's triggers, right? There's triggers that cause you to do the bad habit. So we want to eliminate them as much as possible. And in addition to that, we want to figure out an alternative activity that you can do when dealing with the trigger. All right. So for eating our feelings, what if we grabbed some water and went for a walk? What if we grabbed an apple instead of the cookies? And then even if we start getting into the doom loop of your hands in the cookies and it's going, stopping at 10 cookies is better than eating 12. Stopping at 8 is better than 10. Stopping at 6 is better. Give yourself some grace, stop it, figure out a way that gets you on the other side, whether it's brushing your teeth, whether it's calling your mom, calling a friend, posting on the internet that like, hey, I was just struggling with chocolate covered almonds. I'm not going to eat anymore. All of these things can put a dagger in that doom loop because otherwise you get stuck in that cycle and you never get out of it. So you have to look for all those things, eliminate the triggers, eliminate the junk that's in the house as much as possible. If there's other people in the house, like in our house, I just say, hey, you can buy these things for the kids, to my wife, because I don't like these things. I don't like gummy worms and I don't like anything without chocolate in it. So just don't buy any snacks for the kids that have chocolate in it. Easy. Great. So now if I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to eat a goldfish. I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's still stuff in the house for when you want to give the kids a treat or the other person wants a treat, but there's not stuff that tempts you. So that stuff is out of the house. Then the triggers that cause you to even think about that stuff, we try and minimize those, build systems to protect ourselves from those, which is one of the reasons why I quit drinking. I was like, oh, I backed it all up. So if I have a couple of drinks, I'm going to eat these chocolate covered almonds that I don't need. All right. So let me just quit drinking. One drink still does it from time to time. All right. That's one of the reasons I'm just going to quit drinking totally. And so you get rid of the triggers, you have alternatives, you have ways out of the doom loop, you have all of these systems that kick in when you start going bad. And by you sharing this, that public accountability is an incredible system. I'll never binge eat chocolate covered almonds again because I've told millions of people on all these podcasts and in my books that I used to do that. So now I don't want to disappoint somebody. I don't want to meet somebody on the street and go, hey man, have you actually like binge ate chocolate covered almonds recently? I'm like, no, of course not. Because I said I don't do it. And so that is another system. So there's a whole bunch of systems you can put in place that will help you avoid doing the things that you don't want to do that leave you feeling the regret and guilt. And you can replace it with something that not only will remove the feeling of regret and guilt, but also be a value add to your life that will then move you ahead in the right direction.
Yeah, that doom loop will get you, but that pattern interrupt, I love that you mentioned brushing your teeth.
Sure.
It's such a quick, easy one, but it gets you in a different frame of mind or going for
Yeah.
that walk. It's just, you get that shift and you're like, okay, I can get through this. I'm good. In the perfect day formula, you talk about structuring your day around your values. How has the daily structure evolved for you since you wrote that book?
Pretty much the exact same. So I get up at about 4 o'clock in the morning because I love the hours from 4 until 6 to work. And so we have 3 kids under 3 since I wrote my first book. Oof, but still, today I was up at 1:30 in the morning for an hour because our 9-month-old is teething and he screamed at 1:30 and he's like in a weird spot in his crib too. So I went over there and found him a bottle and eventually bounced him back to sleep and rocked him back to sleep. And I decided just to stay up and I worked. I go to bed really early, so I still got 5.5 hours sleep. So for a dad of 3 kids under 3, 5.5 hours of sleep is not like red alarm territory. 3 hours of sleep and I feel like bad. Normally I get 7 hours of sleep, so don't think I'm a lunatic. But then from 3 until 6, I work. 3 until 5:30. My wife goes to the gym at 4:30 because that's the only time she has. She got back at 5:30. Our 9-month-old got up. We hung out. And then the other kids got up at 6, and from 6 until 8, it's family time. It used to be 6 until 8. I would take my dog for a walk and have breakfast or something, but now it's all family time, and the dog's still there and we hang out with the dog, but the dog has a dog walker later on in the day. And then from 8 until 11, I work just like I used to. My wife takes care of the kids, but also we have 2 nannies every single day. Not every single day, but most days we have 2 nannies in the house, and our nannies only speak Spanish to our kids. So our 3-year-old is amazingly bilingual.
It's cool.
And then, yeah, which might not matter in 3 years when AI can translate everything immediately, but she's really cool. And it's awesome to see her flip between English and Spanish. So then from 11 till 1, I work out and eat lunch. And then from 1 until 3, I film some content. And then I'm basically it's family time until we go to bed at about 7:30. And so that's how I've always ran my day, because I know that I am incredibly productive in those hours before I have any distractions. And for me, I like being up when nobody else is up.
No, that's really cool. You've really taken your habits and wired them into your nervous system as just a part of it's the habit of you. It's just who you are.
I think it's a self-reflection of looking back, and everybody can do this. Everybody has this time of day where they're very productive. The problem is that while you know that you're really productive from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., you fill it with things that don't need to be productive on. And what you need to fill it with is time on your business level 10 problem, the thing that is most important in your business that needs to get fixed or that needs to be taken advantage of to grow your business. And people fill it with all types of other things, from email to calls to errands, et cetera. And they just meetings, and they give it away. And now maybe there are a couple of meetings that you absolutely positively have to have. Maybe you're working on your side hustle and you have a job, and so you work from home and you have to be in a meeting at 10 o'clock, 3 days a week. Great. Okay. So you don't get it every single day. But on the days that you aren't in those meetings, you got to maximize your magic time, which is time of day you're 3 times more productive, creative, and energetic. So identify that, and then go back and rearrange your calendar and your schedule so that you maximize it, because you literally can get 3 times more done in that block than you will doing it at another time of day. And so even if you don't work more hours, you get more production done, because you are finally matching the right task to the right brain power. And that's a game changer for most people that they never click onto, but it's simple cause and effect.
I would imagine when you work with people and you tell them that for the first time, they're probably like, oh yeah, that's really good. Because it is.
Yeah. One of the other things that we do for people is we immediately, on the first coaching call, is we call up their Google Calendar and we just burn it to the ground, because the majority of people's meetings for business owners,
Sure.
like obviously if you're a team member of a company and you don't have any say about the meeting, I can't burn your calendar to the ground. But if somebody's going to show me their calendar and it looks like a unicorn vomited a bunch of Skittles because there's like red meeting and
Right.
yellow meeting, green meeting, there's no white space on it, you're never going to get ahead. So we question every meeting. Does it need to be had? Does it need to be this long? Do you need to be in it? And the next thing you know, we've gotten rid of 10 hours of meetings and silliness, and we start blocking time. So if someone's going to write a book, back to the book writing thing, people think, oh, I'll just write 30 minutes every day. But you'd be much better off writing 1 day per week for 3 hours than 6 days per week for 30 minutes, because the amount of focus and production you'll get in a single 3-hour block will be much more than trying to get into the writing for 30 minutes. And by the time you get into it, you're like 10 minutes in, and then it's, oh man, I got to do something else in 20 minutes. So you get like 10 minutes of production time. Whereas if you have a 3-hour block, it might take you 15 minutes to get into it. Great. But then you write for an hour and a half, take a break, and then you probably got another 45 minutes of productivity before the 3 hours is up. Overall, you get 5 to 10 times more actual productivity time than trying to break it up into slivers of time. So if you can, block and batch your time as much as possible after you've burned your meetings to the ground.
Now, the other thing that you do, besides the book writing, you help entrepreneurs reach 7 figures.
Yeah.
What does that customer journey look like for the people that are listening? What would it look like to work with you?
Most of the businesses that we work with are pretty close to 7 figures when they start with us. So we work with advanced entrepreneurs. And so there's three main ways that people come in. Is one, they buy a low ticket course, they get on our email list, we build the know, love, and trust factor with them, and they raise their hand, they book a call with our team, and they become a coaching client. The second way is we run the classic Facebook ads to a video that books a call. And so those people come with more challenges, like they've never heard of me, they've only seen one or two videos of me. It takes a little bit, it's a little more challenging to get those people to buy right away, but we do get people to buy right away. And those people are generally doing minimum $20,000 a month, but upwards of like $200,000 a month. And they generally have teams. Like, we're going to solve their calendars. We're going to solve their team's calendars and organization and stuff like that. And then there's the people that have been following me on Instagram, and they're one piece of content that they've been following for 3 years. And then one piece of content I post, yeah, this is the time I got to go and take action. And so those are the three ways that people come into our world. And then in the first week of coaching somebody, we give them back at least 10 hours of time, which they can either use for their personal life, or they can use for their business, or they can use for both, whatever they want. And then we just start raising their hourly worth from $100 an hour to $1,000 an hour. And the next thing, they're scaling their business faster. So that is what we do.
Awesome. And what's the philosophy behind that? I know your work blends stoicism, high standards, and Christian values. How do you personally reconcile grace and discipline in a culture that seems to go to different extremes?
I think the most important thing is for somebody to know what matters to them and just ignore everybody else.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of strength and systems to avoid the distractions that are out there. But like the patron saint of my model and my system would be Charlie Munger, who passed away at 99.9 years old in 2023. And this was a man who was worth $2 billion, who flew economy on Alaska Airlines into his 90s when he was going to Costco board meetings. And he just ran his own race, and he was comfortable in his own skin. And so we show people what really matters to them, and we get them to cut the fluff. And when somebody can be comfortable in their own skin, man, that's when you've won the game of life. Because all those people that are chasing podcast views by asking jerk store questions, they're not happy with themselves. And that's really unfortunate. And they could be doing value to the world because they're smart enough to ask that question. They're smart enough to ask a good question that adds value and gets a good amount of views. But unfortunately, most people take the path of least resistance and don't get comfortable in their own skin and chase views and chase popularity, but sacrifice their soul for it.
Craig, this has been an amazing hour that we've been able to have together. What's one question that I didn't ask you that maybe you wish that I would have?
One question, I would say,
or something that you want people to know about.
I'd like to leave this because I don't cover it. Most people don't cover it on the call, but I have this philosophy that everything in life is easier when you know more good people. Everything in life is easier when you know more good people. From this extreme, if you want to go to Disney World with your kids and you only know 10 people, are you going to have the best experience at Disney World? No. If you know 1,000 people and you can ask 1,000 people for how to have the best experience at Disney World, are you going to have a better time? Absolutely. And so if you want help in any area of your life, but you don't know anybody, it's going to be very hard to get help. But if you know a lot of people who can help you directly or introduce you to the person who can help you directly, everything in life is easier. It's how I made most of my money in my life. It's how I met my wife, by asking other people who were good people who were in my circle for help. And so everything in life is easier when you know more good people.
I love it. Yeah. Everybody who's listening, for those of you who are watching, I'm good for book recommendations, and everything I give to you is fire. So go out and get The Dark Side of Discipline by Craig Ballantyne, and get the Audible as well. One of the tricks.
Thank you.
I love the Audible. I'm somebody that learns better through listening. But one of the tricks that I learned from Alex Hormozi, and I think it's absolutely wonderful because of the way my brain works, is you get the book, you get the Audible, you sit with both at the same time, you read it and you listen to it and you capture it.
And doing an audiobook is one of the most physically and mentally demanding things that I could possibly do, is because you have to get every sentence perfect. And if you accidentally wrote a sentence with a tongue twister in it, you are going to pay the price when you come to the audiobook. So I make sure I've learned this after doing 4 audiobooks. I make sure that my sentences are written and I read it out loud before I go to before I turn the book in, so that when I go to the audiobook session, it's not like Thursday samples or something.
You get those tongue twisters.
And it takes you 19 times, because it's like running a mental marathon. So when people tell me that they've listened to the audiobook, it's like one of the nicest things you could possibly do for me.
Yeah, I love it. You went with me on my ruck all last week. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Craig, thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate your time.